Let's look at a pedigree chart, also known as a family tree type diagram. These come up quite a lot in the inheritance module for A-level biology, and you might get a question like this where they ask you to use the pedigree chart and find some evidence within it. So this question is asking us to explain the evidence from the diagram that the allele for rhesus positive is dominant. Now, before we start, just make sure you're happy with what the diagram is actually showing you. So there'll be a key. For example, this one, the shaded shapes show an individual who is rhesus positive, and the unshaded shapes show an individual who is rhesus negative. Remember, the squares just mean males, and the circles just mean females, okay? Now, where you've got shapes joined together like this, that's telling you that they have had a child. So 1 and 2, or male 1, female 2 have had a child. This male has then had children with this female, and their 4 children are shown here. But let's go back to the question. How do we know from this pedigree chart that rhesus positive must be dominant? Well, the best evidence you can find for a dominant trait is where you see 2 parents that have the trait that have produced a child that does not have the trait. That is proof that it must be caused by a dominant allele. So if you already know that, you can zoom in straight away on that relationship. You can see it here. Okay, you can see you've got 2 parents, the male and the female are both rhesus positive. They have produced a son who is rhesus negative. That is hard evidence that this allele must be dominant. Let me just explain why a little bit further. Look, they are both rhesus positive. So if it's a dominant allele, we know they are rhesus positive, so they must have the dominant allele. They've had a child who is rhesus negative. So this child cannot have a dominant allele. This child must have 2 recessive alleles. Where did those alleles come from? Well, both of that child's parents must have been carrying the recessive allele for that individual to be rhesus negative. Now, that is proof it's caused by a dominant allele because you've got 2 parents here, 3 and 4. They are heterozygous. They only have 1 dominant allele, yet they still have the rhesus positive trait. So it must be dominant. In terms of actually answering the question then, 1 marking point is going to be for identifying the right relationship and the right individuals in the pedigree chart. So if you say, for example, well, parents 3 and 4 have had child 7, and child 7 is rhesus negative, that's going to get you marking point 1. If you then go on to explain that parents 3 and 4 must be heterozygous, and they've both passed on the recessive alleles to child number 7, that will get you marking point number 2. Can seem a little bit confusing, but as I said, as soon as you know what to look for, it makes it a lot easier to quickly answer these questions. So proof that a condition is dominant, remember to look for 2 parents that have the trait, that have a child who does not have the trait. The opposite, by the way, if it's recessive, we're looking for the opposite. So if it's caused by a recessive allele, you're looking for a relationship where you've got 2 parents that don't have the trait and they have produced a child that does have the trait. That is evidence of a recessive allele. I hope that's been useful. Do follow me so we can go through more questions like this to help you with your A-level biology.